What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
So guys, International Fight Week is here. That means it's time to break down the main event. Vacant title on the line, Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria. This is going to be a really fun fight, and Nick, I'm excited to break this one down because I really don't know which way this is going to go. Obviously, this is a predictions video, so we're going to make predictions and give our final thoughts on the fight, but I really truly believe there's a case to be made for both men. I don't feel like a lot of people are making too strong of a case for Charles Oliveira right now, and I understand why, but I want to start with just your general thoughts on the fight and how you kind of see it playing out.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this, and I think that Ilia Topuria, after what he did at 145, is the right guy to move into a title shot. Now, Islam leaving, that threw a wrench into things, but if you need to put a 155er into a title fight, it's got to be Charles Oliveira. I mean, he's been the staple at the top of the division for now like 4 or 5 years.
It was him or Arman, but I think Charles, for the excitement factor, it made sense.
Arman's got to do more work. Patty's got to do more work. So yeah, Charles is the right guy. Justin, I think Justin could have been the next best option, but Charles is the right guy. But I am seeing what you're seeing online. A lot of people say, yeah, Topuria in round one, however he wants to do it. And I get it. I get why people are going in that direction. But Charles Oliveira is still one of the best lightweights that we've ever seen. And even though we've seen him deal with adversity in every single title fight that we've ever seen him in, usually he winds up on the canvas in round one, he always finds a way to make it competitive. Sometimes he gets his hand raised and gets to either get a belt or retain a belt. But it's always an exciting fight, and usually people get into a cage with Charles Oliveira, and I don't know what it is, whether they've watched too much of his old tape or they believe he is the same old Charles Oliveira that he used to be, but people wind up in harder fights than they expect when they get in there with Charles Oliveira. They're like, maybe he'll give in and quit like he used to. There's no quit in Charles Oliveira
Not
anymore.
at 155, there's not.
Right, he's a new fighter up there, and I think that Ilia Topuria, at first, to me, it felt like he was sort of brushing over Charles Oliveira, just setting his sights on Islam. He's like, if I beat him, I don't care. I'm going to vacate that belt if I have to and move up to 170. But when you hear him talking in the interviews leading up to this weekend, he's not really overlooking Charles. He understands. Yeah, he understands how good Charles is. But I do think that he has a bigger picture in mind, but he's not really letting us in on all of that. I think he really does have his sights set on Charles Oliveira. And what he's most looking for, in my opinion, is to beat Charles Oliveira faster and more convincingly than Islam did. That's kind of the best and only way he can compete with Islam in this fight, right? He wants to fight Islam. That's not in the cards for right now. But if he goes out there and competes with him, on paper and how the fight goes, maybe with the similar opponent and having a win over Charles Oliveira even faster could be a good way for him to make his case to get that Islam fight that he wants. Islam seems to want it, and the fans, of course, want it. Now, when you talk about this fight as far as X's and O's go, we know what we're going to expect. Charles Oliveira is going to go out there and oblige if Ilia Topuria wants to throw haymakers and just get wild right off the jump. Now, I don't think that's a great game plan for Charles Oliveira, but he does it, and we've seen him be successful at doing that exact thing. Another aspect is the size difference. Now, Ilia is filling out that frame quite well. I think he's going to be a good size 55er as far as the stature goes, but when it comes to the height, he's going to have a major disadvantage there. And Charles, while he does get hit a lot, now if you go back to like the Dustin Poirier fight, he was getting tagged with pretty much every punch that Dustin threw. And while Dustin, in my opinion, isn't quite the clean boxer that Ilia is, Dustin's a little bit taller. He's closer to Charles's level. And he was able to find Charles's head because of the range. Now, Ilia will have to get in a little bit closer, but I do start to wonder if Charles is going to be able to pick up on that and modify and change the range, maybe step back a little bit. Because if he lets Ilia inside, Ilia is going to be the faster fighter, the more powerful fighter, and he's going to land the bigger shots. So Charles Oliveira, yes, he's good in the clinch. Yes, he's good from any sort of entanglement, but that's not where he wants to find himself with Ilia. If he wants to find success in this fight, in my opinion, he really does need to make it a bit wild. He needs to get Ilia out of his comfort zone, out of that rhythm, that stalk you and sort of just predator and prey type of rhythm that Ilia likes to walk in with. He's got to make Ilia really respect some of the power that comes off of him, and he's also got to keep changing things up, because if he doesn't, Ilia's really good at picking up on your mistakes. He's even good at picking up on things that you're doing well and exploiting you. That's the chess level of MMA, right? Like, I'm going to force you to do what you think is the right thing to do. Your coaches have trained you for this, and you're only setting yourself up for disaster because I'm going to hit you even harder once you do it. And Ilia is very good at that. So the X's and O's to me, we could go on all day about it, but in my opinion, this fight is not going to go to the distance. I think that Ilia Topuria is going to go out there and try to do the exact same thing he does, which is proven to be very good and very successful for him. But Charles Oliveira has the ability to go out there and make this a dogfight and pull things out of Ilia that we haven't seen yet. Maybe put some pressure and some stress on Ilia that nobody in the UFC has been able to do yet. Maybe it's just got to be some weird stuff. We saw Max Holloway have some good success, and he even outstruck Ilia in that fight. He was up on the scorecards, I believe, in every single round as far as numbers go, but I would not be willing to say that Max Holloway won any of those rounds because of the damage done and the control of the octagon. So if Charles Oliveira is going to win this fight, it's not only volume that's going to win it. He also has to put some serious power on it and make Ilia Topuria feel those shots, because we saw in that last fight with Max Holloway, even though Max was landing the bigger shots, he wasn't landing, even though he was landing the more shots, he wasn't landing the bigger shots. They weren't doing as much damage, and Ilia was in control of the octagon for the entire time. So I think Charles has a few different things that he could probably learn from that fight, but when it comes to offense, I don't think he needs to take that much from Max Holloway, because their styles are just so different, and Max is a much better boxer than Charles.
Yeah, you can never count Charles Oliveira out. I mean, just think about the Justin Gaethje Charles Oliveira fight. Right. He was knocked down 3 times in the first round, and by the way, he won that fight by submission in the first round.
Imagine betting money on that.
Right? Can you? I mean, what a round, by the way.
Right.
And so, the thing about Charles is, you talk about what are the things that he's going to bring to the table that's going to give Ilia problems.
Right.
He does crack. He's got a lot of power. He's put a lot of really good guys down and out. That was the one differentiator from Max Holloway, as you mentioned earlier. Max is a very great fighter, but he's not known as just power, bite him down, unless it's the last 10 seconds of a fight.
Right.
Charles does that the entire fight. Charles is also very good with Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Ilia Topuria is a very rhythmic fighter. I think what Charles needs to do here is disrupt the rhythm.
Yes.
Charles is really good with teep kicks. He's really good with leg kicks. He's also very long. He uses straight punches well. Ilia has a tendency to load up in that front leg ever so slightly, but it's a pretty noticeable weight shift when Ilia does it.
Yep.
And Charles is really good at timing leg kicks. I think if he's going to have some success here, he needs to get the timing on the switch to the weight in Ilia's front leg and rip the leg.
Yes.
Calf, quad, whatever you can hit, knee. That is going to allow Charles to start to slow down the fighter. I think he also needs to throw straight kicks up the middle and teep kicks, because a rhythmic fighter hates to have their rhythm disrupted.
Right.
And Ilia is a very rhythmic fighter. So if he can throw some teeps up the middle, some kicks, some front kicks, frustrate Ilia a little bit and move around. Charles needs to make this kind of a wild fight.
For sure.
But he's got to, you can't get too wild with Ilia or you'll go to sleep. So he's got to balance wild with elusiveness. So he's got to create those moments of chaos. He's really good in return fire. So, when Ilia's throwing, like how he did against Volk, when he finished Volk, those types of scenarios, Charles is really good in.
Yeah.
He can bite down and throw right back at you. He might go down, but he's going to pop right back up.
Right.
And he's going to keep going. And he's also really good in the scrambles. Even when he gets knocked down, he's really good at, getting butterfly guard and sweeping, or getting back, wrestling up and getting to your back and,
Right.
backpacking you. He's just a very unorthodox fighter, and he's a very exciting fighter. And I think he needs to be that quintessential Charles Oliveira, but just be careful. You can't get too wild against Ilia or you're going to get knocked out. So those are some things that I think Charles can bring to the table that can be disruptive. But before I give my final prediction, who are you taking in this one?
Well, I want to touch on to that. And I'll give you my final prediction, but I got to make them wait a couple seconds. So the kicking, I think you're absolutely right. That lead leg kick is going to be very important. Ilia does shift his weight, and it's noticeable. A lot of times, like 80-90% of his weight is in his back leg, and that's when he's more on the defensive side. So the range is a little deceptive for his opponent. But when he starts starts to pressure forward, that lead leg gets awfully heavy. And even though we saw Max attacking it, it was more of that like oblique kick that Max was going for. I don't really see Charles looking for that one that much, which tells me he's going to be looking for, like you said, kicks to the calves or kicks to the thigh. But we saw a couple of times Max Holloway do that, and Ilia was able to return immediately off the kick on a now slightly off-balanced opponent. So Charles, if he does look for those kicks, and Ilia will switch stances, so he's got to be cautious of which leg to kick. But if he kicks that lead leg, he's got to move laterally as quickly as he can, because Ilia comes in crashing off of those types of kicks. And I'll push back a little bit. I don't think the push and the teep kicks need to be used that much, but they do need to be used. So he should pull them out when it really makes sense, when Ilia does actually square his body up. And we see that from time to time with Ilia, because he loves to throw hooks from both sides, right? And when you do that, you do wind up turning your torso more square and front and center to your opponent. So Charles Oliveira's got to look for that opportunity to score on the legs, slow down the wheels of Ilia Topuria, and then get away. But yeah, the kicks that Charles Oliveira throws have to be sparingly. He has to throw them at the right times. If he starts spamming kick or throwing too many, he's going to get him caught and wind up on his back. And I don't think that's a good spot. Also, if he sets up that low kick really well, a couple of times we've seen Ilia have to deal with head kicks, and he keeps his guard down at times when he's stalking. So if Charles Oliveira can be moving back and still somehow throw a head kick on the shorter opponent, he could wind up catching Ilia on the way in. I say all that to give you my prediction, though. I love Charles Oliveira. I think he was a great champion. I think that he's the rightful guy to be fighting for this title against Ilia, but I'm just unable to predict Charles Oliveira to win this fight. I think Ilia Topuria goes out there and he's promising a first round finish, and he's okay with it being a submission or a knockout. I have a feeling it's going to go more towards the knockout side. I think Ilia is going to come in guns a-blazing and try to land some big power shots early on Charles Oliveira. Charles, of course, is going to bite down on the mouthpiece and engage in the war. Who knows what happens? If Justin Gaethje dropped him 3 times in the first round, I believe Ilia is a heavier-handed fighter and could actually could cause more drops than that. But at the same time, I don't know if Charles Oliveira will be able to stay up from that many powerful shots from Ilia. And I'd also think that Ilia is racing the clock, like I said earlier. Islam Makhachev, it took him 2 rounds and some change, right? Or maybe a round and a half to get Charles Oliveira out of there. I think he wants to beat Charles Oliveira faster than Islam did. And I'm going to go KO or TKO, but I could honestly see him switching over to a quick submission if he hurts Charles Oliveira, just so he can say, not only can I beat these guys by dropping them and knocking out people like Max Holloway, but I can also submit the best submission artist in the game and do it faster than Islam Makhachev. So where's my shot at Islam? I see that being sort of the path that that Ilia takes. Go out there, make it seem like you're this invincible, monster that even though you moved up 10 pounds to another weight class, these guys still have nothing for you, whether it's power, speed, strength, skill, none of it. I think Ilia Topuria goes out there, has maybe his best performance of his life, has a statement victory, and gets his hand raised, and new 155 champion El Matador, or whatever his name is now, Ilia Topuria.
So you're going first round KO.
I'm taking the champ at his word. He says he's going to get it done in 1, and based off of what we see Charles Oliveira do, right? He's willing to get into that kind of firefight. But again, drawing back to that other point I was making, Dustin Poirier was landing everything he was throwing. And Ilia, I believe, is a crisper boxer, and he's even better with his head movement, at slipping, at finding his way inside. Even though he gives up a couple of inches in reach to Dustin, he still is very good at moving in and out with his feet. He's very comfortable at getting inside a boxing range and not having to worry about takedowns, because let's be honest, Charles Oliveira isn't taking Ilia down. So I just see there's too many ways and stylistic issues for Charles to win this fight. And I think that stylistically, this is the perfect matchup for Ilia, because it's a guy whose chin has been tested years and years and years into wars, and Ilia hasn't taken that much damage. So I really do think that Ilia's time and his durability is what's going to get him through this fight. And I've got TKO Ilia Topuria round 1.
To bring a Lee Corso reference to MMA, not so fast, my friend.
There we go.
Charles Oliveira is going to upset everybody and shock the world when he defeats Ilia Topuria.
Okay.
I will tell you exactly why and how he's going to do it. Charles has certain skills that Max Holloway doesn't have. The leg kicks being one of them. When Ilia gets heavy in that front leg, I think we're going to see Charles chop the leg. I think we're going to see Ilia have issues with Charles's range. Charles is very good with the straight punches, and Charles can crack. He's also very durable. And oh, by the way, we saw Ilia Topuria one time at 155, and he was almost finished by Jai Herbert.
Very true.
Now, he came back and did a phenomenal job, not taking anything away from him. That was an excellent fight, and he recovered very well. But Charles Oliveira ain't anybody's Jai Herbert.
That's right.
So Charles Oliveira has the submission ability. He has the scramble effect. He's just wild enough to make Ilia's rhythm get disrupted, and I think he's going to do just that. I think he's going to disrupt the rhythm. He's going to use a combination of being wild and being evasive. I think his chin is going to be tested. I think Ilia is going to find that chin, and he may even put him down. But again, as I said, Justin Gaethje knocked him down 3 times in the first round of their fight, and then he came back and won by submission in the same round. I like Charles Oliveira. I think he's getting overlooked massively in this fight, and I think he's going to make everybody eat crow come Sunday morning. Charles Oliveira by submission, 4th round.
Wow. Okay, well, how about this? I have a feeling that this video is either going to go insane because you get the prediction right, or it's going to go insane because you're dead on off with this one. You couldn't be more off with this one, but it's going to be funny to see what everybody says. I'm interested in seeing how the masses feel on fight week, because it's different, right? When you're doing a lead up, and Ilia is very good at building a fight. He's very good at this aura that he's created. He's maintaining it. People really are wondering, what is this guy made of? Something different, right? But it's Charles Oliveira. It's fight week in the UFC. The dude's all over the history books. Like, let's not forget who Ilia is going in there against. Ilia Topuria has never been in a fight this hard. Charles Oliveira has fought more difficult fights than this.
Well said.